And just about on time. Thank you, Paul. Welcome to this meeting of the Town Planning Committee on Monday, the 15th of January. Please, with apologies for absence.
Yes, Chairman. Councillor Sinton and Councillor Valmont.
Thank you. I think that covers everyone. Next, declarations for interest. Are there any in the room?
Yes. On 20 Shell Green.
20 Shell Green.
Yeah, I'm friends with those.
Okay. Do we think that's abstain from the vote? I'm not saying, do we think that's an abstain from the vote?
Probably better to.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay. Next, we go on to confirm as a correct record the minutes of the meeting of the committee on the 4th of December. Hope everyone's had a chance to read these. Councillor Brooks.
Proposed, Chairman.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. All those in favour?
Thank you.
Grand. Next, we go on to planning applications. Schedule that everyone have in front.
Hello.
Good evening. Before we start this, I'm just going to quickly grab a glass of water. Okay, so first on the schedule, we have 10 Dovecot Road, first floor extension, as approved under the planning application reference. This is just a variation of condition 2. Is there anything on the portal from this one?
There's not very much, Chairman. No neighbours' responses. WRS have got no concerns on their reply. The conditional aspect was highways with this. They're asking for provision of 4 car parking spaces within the curtilage because of the increase in occupancy.
So is this a variation to remove that condition?
No, it's the condition from highways for approval.
Okay, so the variation is for that condition. Okay, do any members in the room have any comments? Well, if it's a condition proposed by highways, then I'd prone to support it. I'm happy to propose that. Would anyone care to second? Thank you. All those in favour?
Thank you.
Grand. That brings us next on to 20 Cheryl Green, first floor extension over an existing side extension. Anything from the portal on this one?
Couple of things, Chairman. No neighbours replies like the previous one. Drainage proposals are satisfactory from Watchaven. The county replied that it meets criteria. This is back in December, and just to note that the end date of consultation was the 30th of December, but it is still open for comment. But they had assigned no case officer of the county, and that's still the same. So in other words, there's no county response. So nothing of any note really.
I should imagine there's no highways response as it's over an existing extension anyway. Any comments from members? Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to say that the reason I suspect why there are no neighbour comments is looking at the location. It doesn't in any way affect the neighbour. In fact, you can see it's against the road. So I can't see any issues with that at all, and I'd be happy to propose for an agreement.
Grand. Would anyone like to second? Wonderful. Thank you. All those in favour?
Thanks. Thank you.
Grand. And we have one extension as well, obviously. That takes us next on to 32 to 43 of the Heriots, replacement of existing windows and doors. Have we anything from the portal on this one?
No neighbours' responses, Chairman. Only one statutory today, which was the Conservation Officer What their conclusion is, there's negligible impact, so no impact from conservation point of view from the chair. That's it.
Grand. The proposed replacement windows will appear almost identical to the originals and will have no impact on the setting of the Grade 2 listed building, and the new doors will face inwards to the courtyard of the block of flats. So it sounds all very good.
Yeah, I think if you read into it, the current windows are single glazed anyway, so it's pulled thermally, so it's only for the better really, that, yeah.
Huge improvements to
Yeah.
those living there as well. Would anyone like to make a comment on this before we propose it for acceptance? Would anyone care to second? A few hands gone up. I think I saw John's first. All those in favour? Thank you. Next we go on to 8 St Andrews Street to convert number 8 St Andrews Street to create 2 duplex units. Have we had anything on the portal for this one?
Very little, Chairman, on this one. No neighbours replies. Only one statutory to date, which was WRS, and no adverse comment from them. Would anyone like to make a comment on this one?
I think any improvement on that building would be,
Councillor Brooks.
Thank you. Yes, again, I think the only area of concern with this would be its visual impact. And as I understand from what I've seen, that wouldn't be affected really by this at all. I mean, I'll be happy to propose we approve it subject to the Heritage Officers Agreement, which I haven't seen.
Good. I think that sounds quite wise. I'll be happy to second that. Any other comments, or shall we go to vote? All those in favour? Thank you. Next, we go on to the former Ravenstone nursing home. Change of use from nursing home use class 2 to mixed use comprising of 6 self-contained flats and a large HMO of 24 non-self-contained rooms and ancillary accommodation. Has there been much on the portal for this one?
Nothing from neighbours by means of response, Chairman, but there's a couple of statutory comments. The Conservation Officer recommend a design revision. So what this is part of the frontage rooms. The proposal is to create a kitchen to serve HMO residents. So that will damage, in their opinion, the architectural significance of the original layout of the building. So it's quite detailed, but the highlighted points there main.
The building's front facade and internal layout still appears to be fairly unaltered, and this leads me to assess it as an NDHA. Thank you. However, there is one issue that is inappropriate, and that is the subdivision of one of the main front reception rooms to create one of the kitchens to serve residents in the HMO. This will damage to understanding and experience of the architecture by creating an awkward subdivision. The layout proposed is mainly appropriate to the history of the building, except for the insertion of the kitchen between front 2 formal reception rooms.
That was one point, Chairman. Then the other one was WRS. What they're asking for is a noise assessment, so stipulating that for secondary glazing, it needs to be product specific, so there's mention of it in the application, but no detail. They need to be able to gauge conformity for the alterations and the ventilation.
So some work still to be done there. Would any members like to make a comment? Councillor Davidson.
Yeah, I see there's potential route for 40 car owners. Despite the fact that the applicants are aware that we're near bus stops and the railway and so on, we're not central London, we haven't got London transport, we're not Birmingham, and our buses don't go anywhere useful after 6 o'clock. The trains can get you to Birmingham, but I don't know whether they can get you back whilst when you're watching a concert or something. So although there might be a national policy or something that if you're in a town centre you don't need parking, there are only 3 parking spaces, and I don't think it's realistic And I think it might add to congestion and exhaust pollution, despite the fact that it sounds green. That's my comment.
It's a different one.
I agree, it's currently occupied by property guardians. So what we see at the moment with the parking and congestion is only down to about, I believe, about 15 to 20 people there. So we're talking considerably more people going to be occupying the area. So I mean, I think that, you know, there's going to be a lot of congestion and pollution, exactly.
I definitely agree. I think I've always enjoyed Droit, which is quite a walkable and trainable place. But to assume that the potential 40 residents would have no additional or wouldn't bring cars with them, I'd like to think most wouldn't. But very much so is also the impact from additional vehicles attending, delivery vehicles, bin vehicles for the extra bin load.
Amazon.
Yeah, all the additional traffic that comes with living in a place beyond one's own vehicle. I believe there is a national policy on developments within town centres and near public transport to excuse not having the amount of parking we specify in Wychavon zone rules, which makes it a hard point to recommend refusal on. But I think I would certainly see that amount of extra traffic, including the extra pollution, that amount of extra filling on the infrastructure would create quite a social damaging or a damage to the social structure of the area, both in health and well-being from the added pollution and the added traffic on the roads. It'd make it difficult for residents living there and new moving in to have visits from family and to have access to local delivery services. On that point, I'd be quite happy to propose that we refuse that or recommend refusal. Can we put that into a recommendation, Mark?
Yes, Chairman. So recommend refusal based on insufficient parking provision for deliveries and the proposed increase in residents, pollution concerns and impact on infrastructure. You could add the outstanding points from the Conservation Officer and also WRS. And it's just worth noting there's no response from Highways. It may be because it's change of use, but it's pertinent with the parking. The end date for this is the 20th of January, so there is time.
Grand. Unless anyone wants to add anything further to that, I'd be looking for a seconder. So a hand from Councillor Davidson. Could we have all those in favour? Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. This brings us next on to Hill & Co. Estate Agents, the erection of a single-sided illuminated freestanding. Has there been anything on the portal for this one?
Just one comment from a neighbour which asked a question about whether it's both sides of this illuminated sign and what are the hours of operation. Asked two questions. Those questions are actually answered in the application form. It's 24 hours and it is both sides of the illuminated sign. There's a picture of it there on the proposal.
So hopefully all have been past Hill & Co. on the main high street, just on the hedge on the left side of there, sort of tucked in a bit.
The road is. Yeah. Nothing of any note from anybody else, no ground issues from the WRS and no other responses. So it's literally those 2 points.
So it looks like the only comments from members of the public have been quite well answered within the application itself. I can't see any difficulty or great concern with this sign. It doesn't look to be so conspicuous from the road as to cause a distraction. I'll be happy to propose we recommend this one, unless there's any comments against.
Why does it need to be on during
I think
24/7?
it's like a digital sign, perhaps linked to the internet for property sales and things. I think it's 24/7. A bit like the 7/1 at on Worcester Road.
It seems very unobtrusive. Shouldn't be a nuisance to anybody.
Would WRS naturally check the lighting levels anyway?
Yeah.
We could ask that, or would that only be if someone reports it? We could
That
ask
would
that
be
it
my
be,
concern, is like from sort of dark hours through the night.
Yeah.
Is how, what sort of impact it would have on the sort of the houses, or a sort of opposite house, it's shining through a window or something.
possibly. I do know
Yeah.
that the opposite side of the road from here is more of the entranceway to, I
Yeah.
can't remember the name of the estate, so it'd be quite,
Yeah,
I think it is quite far from the houses.
Yeah, just a thought, just a thought.
I think it'd be quite valid to ask that WRS, check the lighting levels once installed.
I think it's the Oaklands, George.
There's a block of flats next to them, isn't there? And that's certainly going to be affected.
I don't see why it can't be time limited. You know,
Yeah.
like
No.
switch off at 10:30 because
Yeah, so I just think it's a waste of power to me, it's,
light pollution,
Yeah.
you need to reduce light pollution.
Do you want to pass this around?
Should be possible.
Shows the small scale of it quite a bit. I'd be surprised at a great power usage to it, but
Yeah.
obviously there's a lot of people who pass by there, going to and from work late into the evening. So I could see why if someone was paying for an advertising sign, out the front of their business, they'd want it to be always present, always sort of doing its job.
No, that's, yeah, but going to take in social and environmental impacts as factors as well, so there's nothing wrong with turning off 10:30, there's not going to be that many people at that point.
Well, I know quite a few people who work in the evenings and work through the night and sort of come back at all hours.
Not
I'd
that
be-
many taking with it.
I'd be surprised if it caused, it's quite far from any houses. I'd be surprised if it could cause, disruption to any houses. But I think, any conflict with the planning application based on lighting levels would have to come from WRS. So I think we can ask them to look at the lighting levels of it.
Check the brightness of it, do you mean? Check the brightness.
That's a long-winded way of saying check the brightness.
Well, that's what it is, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
As long as it's not a distraction to motorists,
Yeah,
you know, I can't see a problem. Because a lot of it is actually not lights.
yeah, it's sort of central part of it, it seems. And facing not towards the road, but
It's not much different from somebody leaving the light on all night in their downstairs room.
or the sort of, all-night light, street lighting that's sort of directly around it.
Pointless on both sides if it's up against the fence.
Yeah, I think that's why they only got it single sided.
Like them ways.
So, unless there's a planning reason to object, to the signing, I think we're being, quite wisely cautious in asking WRS to check the lighting levels on it. Are there any further comments or objections, or would anyone like to second this?
We could add a little bit about, and maybe would it be possible to have a time switch on it or something? Possible.
So, as part of that recommendation, it'll be asked whether it could be a time switch.
So recommend approval subject to comment on social and economic factors, including time switch brightness.
Okay.
So Mark, can you speak up? Sorry.
Yeah, recommend approval subject to approaching WRS that they check brightness and social and economic factors, such as a time switch.
So I'm still happy with that as a proposition. We're looking for a seconder. Councillor Brooks, and all those in favour? Thank you. This takes us next on to Westco Newland Lane, technical details permission for the construction of 4 dwellings following permission in principle as listed on the application. Have we had anything on the portal for this one?
A couple of things, Chairman, just on this one, it is technical details permission aspect. The drainage, they requested details to include surface materials intended for the access road. That's because of the runoff penetration, surface water. And then there is an interim response from the clerk at Selwark, Martin Hodgson Tree and Hindley Parish Council. And there's just a comment to note on their reply, which is that there's just making a point really, there's 2 previous undetermined applications for that site. That's their reply. but there's no neighbours' responses.
So, would anyone else in the room, councillor Davidson?
When this originally came before us, we recommended refusal. Councillor Morris had pointed out that the footpath didn't go along the road as it was supposed, as it looked on the plan or something. And also we queried why they'd started grubbing up a hedge, which was an ancient hedge. But which they haven't seemed to have approved it, and Salwell seemed to not be interested. So that's just a comment really.
Normally, Chairman, with that from previous resolution, you would generally accord with the original response, which was to recommend refusal, irrespective that it's gone through it, whichever.
And as far as I know, unless anyone knows different, the infrastructure in the area hasn't changed, so the situation of the planning application hasn't changed at all. I think I'd be happy to, well, I'll let Councillor Brooks speak first, but I'll have to propose the
It
same.
might just help if I just explain the situation with this one, because there's sort of 3 levels of planning, if you like. And starting at the top, you've got the full planning application. And before that, you get the outline with all matters reserved, which companies do so they don't spend too much money on the design until they've actually got the outline approval. But this is the stage, a possible stage before even that, which is this permission in principle. In other words, they've simply made an application saying, can we build, was it 4 houses or whatever on this site? And then that permission, as I understand, has been given. So all we are actually determining now is really any comment on the information that's just come through at this next stage, and it's really only the technical stuff which on drainage and things, which I don't think we can.
Indeed, well, I think we can, I think in the idea of, not coinciding, what's the word? In the idea of staying consistent with the previous decision, I think whilst we still consider the infrastructure in the area inappropriate, I think I'd still see it as inappropriate to offer full details. I think the citing of those technical details anywhere on the site would be seen as inappropriate if we still consider the housing on the site inappropriate in its whole. So unless there's different, I'd be happy to propose that we continue recommending refusal. Would anyone care to second? Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Next we go on to Spar Stores, Oakland Avenue, to remove hedges and replace with fences to provide security at the back of the store. Has there been anything on the plan portal for this one?
There's no replies, Chairman, whatsoever on this one. I've got the diagram of the application pack there to show it. I think as it's defined on the application details, it's to improve security as well at the rear of the store.
So hopefully everyone's seen this on the portal. Can pass it around if desired, but just showing a red line of the fencing on the back as it meets the public highway.
That's the photos we sent as well.
Yeah.
The hedge. We went up and spoke to the manager, and the hedge is predominantly a type of ivy. There's a lot of gaps in it. It's brambles.
It's horrible.
They're struggling to cut the hedge back to stop people walking into it. It's sort of obstructed, starting to obstruct the footpath as well now.
There was a wasp next to it as well.
Yeah, it's
No, it's
something.
but it's very, it is an ecological feature. I can't remember the name of the insect that inhabits it. It's not a stinging insect, but it does provide an ecological value to it.
where we understand that and we agree with that is if you look at the state of the hedge, the guys are going to get claims eventually, because somebody's going to walk into it. It's quite out of. It's real thick.
I think
overgrown.
Ivy,
But
overgrown.
are they going to replace the biology, biodiversity aspect? Are they going to replace that in any regard, or is it just again another loss? Just accept and move on. So
I mean, depending on what the size of the garden on the rest of the site is, and if it is a grassed area, we could suggest they look for biodiversity.
If there is
Net
a grassed
modelling.
area to the side and
There's-
there is a hedge at the back of the shop.
So there, so there may already be a lot of natural habitat on the
Maybe
site.
they could just move those then to
Yeah.
another area, because you don't have to destroy the nest.
Yeah.
Is it like by an electrical power substation?
Yeah, it's
And there is a lot of natural habitats, because that's not particularly natural habitat in the sense that it wasn't there before. Was it about 2 years ago when the new shop was built?
It's not a big.
Oh
big
no, I'm
hedge,
thinking of the one on Spire Hill.
We did.
I was in the wrong part of town for it. Yeah, Oakland, I know the one just over the east side.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, I was thinking of the one on Blake Avenue over in Chawson. I think there's still a lot of natural habitat in the areas around that, but
Yeah, but if we keep chipping away at them, there's not, if you know what I mean, you've got to hold the line at some point, and, you know, if it's not a great hedge, then maybe they could look at slow, you know, moving it to something that's more manageable and better and still has ecological value to it, rather than just getting rid of it as usual.
Yeah, I think Neil, you need to see yourself.
No, how about you live on Upland Avenue?
He tries to put it down in any way, he's going to see great big gaps into the back of his property.
Yeah.
So he can't actually, he's in the concrete, he can't actually do one thing. Look, he doesn't want to put it down particularly, but it's because it's growing over the path. And it's also, if he tries to have it down, it's a massive room, branch driveway, with brambles in it. No, I don't want to put down hedges, but it's more of a common sense approach that he doesn't really have an option.
it sounds like it's making the sites unsafe.
Pass it all the time. So,
It sounds like it's making the site unsafe to access for walkers, and especially those with mobility issues going along there. I think we could ask the business owner to look for opportunities to balance the biodiversity loss, but not knowing what's on the site, because if that entire garden is already filled with hedge and other habitat, then I don't think we could force it, but I think we could ask them to look for it. Councillor Morris.
Yeah, I'm actually going to agree with Councillor Franks, because if we take hedges down and put fences everywhere, we're not going to have any biodiversity at all. You know, we should preserve hedges as far as we can. They are far better than trees in many ways, the hedges, for biodiversity. I can see the issue, and I know this store quite well, but I think we need to force the owner to look at how we can use the hedge in a more, in a better preserved way. You know, he could put a fence in front of the hedge maybe, or.
I don't think he'll get a fence in front of it, Richard.
Well, he needs to push it back, doesn't he?
I don't think he will. The
No,
root
if you push
system
it
is,
back, you'd actually cut it down, so back.
yeah, the root system is real out onto the path now.
But does he have to cut the whole of the hedge down, maybe part of it?
I don't know.
Like the gaps, doesn't
It's a massive edge, and it's, you're talking, the root system of this, it's,
I'd rather we got a survey to show.
I think I'm going to go to Councillor Brook, and
I
then
use that one quite a lot, and I can't get my pram down it, cars park on the road and the hedge, like, you have to, I know it's not like much, but it's like, whether they cut it back or whatever, I don't really mind, but like, if you can't cross the road or whatever for some unknown reason, and you know, say you literally, the gap is very small, like you can't push like a pram down there.
and ultimately that safety aspect is our first responsibility
with that.
as representatives of
I
the
agree
town.
And the cars are always parked
I
on
do,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think, I do also know the study showed that people's access to greenery in their day-to-day lives is quite important for mental health and living standards.
What would happen if it's somebody's garden hedge? Would there
It'd
be?
be entirely up to them, but for anyone to put up a fence, that's what this planning application is
Right,
for, is
right.
to
So
put
you
up a
cut
fence.
the hedge down if you want.
He could do it if he wants, there's nothing to stop him, unless it's an ancient hedge, which I'm not sure it would be. But
It's the balance, because the county will be putting him under pressure to cut that back, I
Yeah.
agree.
I think we could ask,
it's not an ideal plant to be put as a hedge, to be honest.
No.
It's just like, ivy that grows over trees.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm thinking more, I mean, if there's a
Yeah.
biodiversity, net balance.
I mean, if it was a privet edge, it would be slightly different, but
It's
because
got
it's so
cut into it.
knotty and it's just overgrown,
Would
it's
this,
out of hand, to be honest.
would this fall under the, anyone with a particularly whichever headset, would this fall under, would this fall under the responsibility of the Whichehaven Conservation Officer for conserving biodiversity in the area? Could we ask them to look into this and ask that, biodiversity nets, that they work with the applicant to look for a biodiversity net balance?
There's no response from them, Chairman, so I don't know whether
Without,
it's running course, because it is fairly early, it's 29th of January, the end date, but we can ask the question.
I think my fear as well is without seeing the site themselves on paper, as I've probably evidenced, it could be quite easily overlooked.
They could do this on Friday when we have a field trip.
But I think it'd be, for the conservation officer, I think it'd be, depends on their schedule, I think we could dictate that, but,
What's the question?
yeah, you read that back to see if, I think if it's councillors from the area, if it is the only green along that particular walk, I think it'd be important to try and defend it as we can, but in a way that supports the business owner to continue operating and serving the people in the area.
So, to ask the question with the conservation officer about the net balance of biodiversity for the site.
I feel like we could be stronger. I'm going to go to Bob and then.
Thank you. I think this is one of these things where, now I don't like cutting edge down or any other greenery, but I think it's one of these things where you've got to balance a number of different things. And obviously we've got a business here having some security issues. We've got a hedge that looks dreadful and is impinging on the actual pathway. And I think cutting it back to even get the full width of the footway is probably going to damage a lot of it anyway. So I think they've got all these various conflicting things. So yes, so I'm very much in favour of the approach to actually approve it, but ask, subject to comments from the appropriate Whichehaven officer, who's obviously an expert on that, can say how important it is for diversity kind of agenda.
It sounds like it does need to happen for the safety, but I think, I don't know if comments from the heritage officer is strong enough. Conservation, I don't know if comments from is it quite strong enough, but I think we should, can we ask for a site visit? Not a full council site visit, but subject to a site visit from the conservation officer to make sure they're
Site assessment.
Yeah.
I think that would be very reasonable. I mean, I'm very familiar with the site. In fact, I've got a street lamp put up there to improve the lighting just around that area again for security.
another key part of public safety.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
again,
because that was bent, wasn't it? Was it bent or was it
Yes,
the
it
fence?
was. It was bent.
Yeah.
It'd be damaged, I think.
It's not long since a monkey puzzle tree was removed from that site as well. It was probably dangerous.
But we can look to, thinking like when we look to correct something, we can try and mitigate any damage caused.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
I think originally I was thinking it was the shop up on Sparrow Avenue where there's a lot of greenery and ecology in the area. Okay, any further comments on that, or would anyone care to second? Thank you, Councillor Brooks. All those in favour? Thank you. Wonderful. Graham. So that takes us on to item 4B, amended planning applications of which none have been received. Taking us next on to 5A, approval notices for having been issued since the last town council planning committee. And of these, all four did accord with our recommendations. For refusal notices, no refusal notices have been issued since the last town council planning committee. Next on to item 6, notification of a planning appeal. Hopefully all will have seen as attached that the district council have provided the notification for the application appeal dated the 4th of January.
Chairman, just on that one, that's an extension to the 1st of February, it was originally the 11th of January. The comment.
Wonderful. If we're all happy with that one, if there's no comments, we'll go next on to item 7. So, the accounting got lost there.
7 and 8, Chairman, are both national highways, are just notifications for carriageway improvements for information, 2 different schemes.
So quite linked and best read together. Hopefully all have had a chance to read those. Unless there's any comments, we'll take those as read. Next on to accountant's gone tonight. Next on to item 9, the VAS location assessments. Tagwell Road, to confirm that Councillor Brooks has requested County Highways to carry out a feasibility assessment for the suitability of an additional VAS position as outlined. Councillor Brooks, do you want to talk on this or as read?
Well, merely, this is in response to obviously residents, and it's building on the work I already did with the previous VAS, just on the bend of where Tagwell Road, there's a bend before it goes up the slope, which I think has improved things quite a lot. But again, I've had residents further up with problems at that roundabout where, despite the fact there are some speed bumps, there's still some idiots around. Hopefully, it will encourage people to stay within the law.
Just on that one, Chairman, that does cross-reference to resources later as to funding opportunities through the OPCC. And to just add on the Tagwell Road, Councillor Brooks, we have got the licence now granted for that. So it would be a solar VAS and the resources just to consider the options on funding it a bit later.
Excellent. Grant, if there's no comments on that one, we'll go next to the Worcestershire County Council Road Traffic Regulation Act.
It's quite a lot of those, Chairman, they're all for information.
Wonderful. If everyone's happy to take these all as read, if anyone's got any comments on these, so that's all items from 10 to 17. Road Traffic Regulation Acts, closures, notice of closures for various footpaths. I believe these are for the repairs and improvements to the bridges along the canal, or for the most part. Councillor Brooks.
Thank you. I'd just make a comment that apart from 1 or 2 routine utility closures, but it's very nice to see how much work the county council are able to do in improving our footways and roads in our area, despite the budget constraints that they're having to work with.
Indeed, and all quite well scheduled together. Grand. If we're all happy there, I will thank you all for attending and bring this meeting to a close. Thank you very much. The problem with starting it is, especially in this winter, it just throws you out.
Everybody ready? Good evening, everybody. Let's start the Community and Amenities Committee with apologies for that absence.
Yes, Chairman, Councillor Sinton and Councillor Valmont, please.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest tonight? No. Item 3, to confirm a correct record of the minutes of the meeting of the committee held on the 6th of November 2023. Any comments?
These were accepted at council in December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, can I have a proposer? Seconder? Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Item 4, community grants. To receive and consider the recommendations made by the Grants Approval Committee the meeting held on the 8th of January. And I'll hand over to Mark.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. This was just a one application for, it's actually the Amplet House boiler. I've had some problems with that through the winter. So it's to part fund a replacement, actually twin boilers it is for that building, similar to here. So that would expend the funds for this financial year. We cover the new financial year later on the agenda.
Yeah.
So the recommendation was to approve that. There were no other applications received either for us to consider, and we would normally have expended by about this time.
Mhm. Any comments? And can I?
Just saying that it's part of the Methodist Church, it is well used by the community.
Yeah, it's shared use for various community groups, so it would qualify section 137, these the community and the residents.
Yeah. Yes. So can I have a proposal for approval? Please,
I'm very happy to.
seconder? Thank you. All those in favour?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 5, estimates to 2024, 2025 and review of the charges. The committee is invited to consider the council's estimates 2024, 2025 for the services, fees, charges within its remit. And I'll hand over to Mark for
Thank
that.
you, Chairman. So the full report, it's a 12-page report, there's a lot of detail in there, and the reason I've put quite a bit of detail on the background is because it's Community and Amenities and Resources Committee that share the budgets and the estimates, and particularly for new members to the council. This is the first occasion that we considered preset to the election, so there's a bit of background on there, and also some of the proposals and strategic priorities that have been carried forward from the previous administration are detailed within that report. So for the purpose of community and amenities, when you look at the spreadsheet, it's the figures in blue. So on the spreadsheet there, the first page is income. So the community and amenities is all the sections in blue. That's income on page 1. And then on the reverse, on page 2, there's the expenditure for community and amenities. I did ask if members got questions on cost centres to let me know before. Some members have asked questions and I've answered those last week. So for the community and amenities consideration this evening, in the report, there's 2 aspects that we're mainly concerned with, because the whole community and amenities income and expenditure is referred to resources, which follows this meeting anyway, and the wider consideration of preset. But the 2 points that we are highlighting are, it's on page 7 of the 12-page report, that the grants budget, section 137, that we just talked about for community grants remains at 5,000. There's a paragraph on there that explains the rationale that that figure seems to be meeting demand from the requests that we're getting. And there is also the option that we can increase that during the year from contingencies if the need arose. And the second bit is that the charges, fees and commissions, so that's things like the allotments, the community hall, it's all detailed in the report, that remains the same. We're not looking at any increases or decreases in that, because they seem to be set about right at the moment. We last reviewed those a couple of years ago, and they are in line with peers on all those things.
Any comments? Very quiet tonight. Yes, Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. Just to say, I think it's excellent, very well prepared report, and looks to keep us as a council very well planned for the year and very flexible, especially with the way forward on our grants budget.
Any other comments? Can I have a proposer and a second, please? For approval of this. Thank you. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Item 6, Worcestershire Wildlife Trust Natural Works. This is for information only, and I hope you've read it, because I don't propose to sit and read every item that we've got down here.
So, thank you, Chairman. This one's just for information, really. A lot of these items tonight are following on from business from the last calendar year, so it's just the next position on it. So really, the Wildlife Natural Networks, we had a meeting with the delegation, and we got a site visit with officers from County and the Wildlife Trust on Friday this week. And we expect to be able to put a funding bid in for these biodiversity and improvements for the community during February with their guidance. The good news is the biodiversity is now 70% funded rather than 40%. So there's quite a bit of scope there.
Is there any comments? My goodness, you're quiet tonight. Carry on then.
We'll now have to Friday, because it all looks good at the moment.
Well, it does look good at the moment, yes. Well, put the wellies on, just in case. Right, item 7, Friday weekly charter market. Again, this is for information.
So again, Chairman, with this one, this was an action back in November from CNA. So another delegation, a working group for the market. We had a successful meeting with the operator early December, 1st of December, and we've got an outline really to do a relaunch for him, to help him with that just before Easter, leading up to Easter, and then a 6 monthly review going forward for how things are going for them, and also Town Council in June, and we'll continue with that. But overall, pleased with how the market's going.
Yeah.
Good footfall, and looking to really just expand it this year where we can and help them deliver it.
Yeah. And item 8 then, former Raven Hotel site. This has all been very contentious over the time, but I'm glad to see some things are happening there. Yes, Councillor Brooks.
Thank you. I'm not a member of the committee, but thank you for letting me speak. I just wanted to, perhaps on behalf of us all, just express our thanks to the Town Clerk and colleagues for their part in making this happen, because obviously getting that site secured is meant a lot. So thank you.
Yes.
So it's just a note, Chairman, really, but I think members can see that there's been some improvements over there, and hopefully as the year goes on, we'll see some progress.
Yes. Perhaps it can stop all the rumours that we keep hearing. And item 9, German twinning. Now, really.
Yeah, this is one looking ahead really, Chairman, for May. So it would be for the Deputy Mayor at the moment as the Mayor-elect. But we had a request, members remember back in September we had a special flag for the 40th anniversary of the German twinning, donated by the German Twinning Association. We flew it for a month. Councillor Municipal and Mayor was part of the flag raising on that day. And there is a delegation visit from Bad Ems, civic delegation, in May this year, so just after the new mayor term starts. And what the German Twinners have asked for is to reciprocate 2 things: presentation of the Droitwich Spa flag, because of the 40th anniversary year being this year, going into last year going into this year, and also for the mayor to host a reception on the Sunday morning of the visit weekend in this room, which is traditional really when they receive people from Germany for twinning. And the date of that is the 2nd of June. So of course that's been granted. It was just to make people aware.
We need a flag, don't we?
Yeah, so we can sort that.
Sure.
Well, what they're wanting, I think, is the actual civic regalia
Oh,
of the town.
civic
Yeah,
regalia.
the crest.
Yeah.
That's good.
Sounds great. Item 10, Museum Association Conference on Exhibition Design. This is This is for Becky's going to this.
This is Becky, one of the heritage managers, that's asked to go to this. We can cover this from the training budget. It's a good thing to go to in terms of a conference on delivering museums and impact and temporary exhibitions for our centre. So it fits with their forward plan and networking. It's coming up next month in London, and it also steps quite nicely into number 11, which is the Community Legacy Grant application, which was resolved at full council in December, and we expect to submit that application to Wychavon this week. It's pretty much done, but we just need to finally submit it. So we're hopeful that we will get an answer on the stage 1 agreement in principle within the next 2 or 3 weeks on that.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I'm not sure of the costs of it, but is that a course that we could offer, or a conference we could offer to all museum volunteers? It may be something that more like to learn about.
We can ask them. There is a cost. It's a couple of £100 per individual. But if there was any volunteers that were particularly interested, we could consider that, certainly. Yeah. Well, they do have to book places, so it will be the next edition.
Very good.
All right, on to item 11, Wychavon District Council Community Legacy Grant Opportunities 2024 Museum and Heritage Centre application. Pursuant to the draft minute reference of full council on the 18th of December 2023 to confirm that the stage 1 expression of interest application for the museum project is currently being prepared for the submission. It is anticipated to complete the application by the 25th of January. Yeah.
So that's covered, Chairman, really. That's all set to go.
That's all set. Good. Item 12, Community Hall, Orbit Room improvements. Councillor Brooks has requested consideration for acoustic treatment, sound suppression measures for the hall. Yeah, it does echo in that hall, doesn't it? And for replacement projector screens and downlighter. These measures are to improve the existing arrangements and to help encourage the use of facilities by the community groups, particularly for slide and video presentations. Councillor Brooks has generously offered some contribution towards these improvements from the 2023-2024 County Councillors Division Fund. And yes, Councillor Brooks.
If I may, Chairman, thank you for that. This is a very valuable asset we have in the town, and it's widely used. I often attend meetings here, which is why I'm aware of these, shall we say, little shortcomings that I'd obviously like to see put right. And by the way, just for information, because we had an incident where somebody was taken ill, and it became quite apparent that the street lighting just outside that hall is not as adequate as we would like to see. And I'm almost there. I think it looks as though I will be able to get some additional street lighting there too. So just to make the whole venue that much more attractive. And I obviously am very pleased to support this verbally, but also I'm glad I can support it with a little bit of financial asset, as well. So I would urge you to agree with this, please.
Yes, Councillor Duffy.
I think it'd be a great addition to the hall. I think, I've definitely experienced the echoiness in there that can make it quite hard to hold smaller meetings in there. So I'd be happy to propose this.
Seconder, please.
And I'd be more than happy to second.
All those in favour then? Thank you very much indeed.
So, Chairman, just on that one, what we'll do, we'll get some estimates and costs. It will be certainly less than procurement on those levels, I'm sure. And then we'll introduce those changes, report them to coincide with the start of the new municipal period from 1st of April. But we have considered that as part of the budget setting.
Thank you. Item 13, D-Day 80th anniversary event, 6th of June 2024. There's something else happening on the 6th of June, isn't there? Fish and chip day.
Oh, yeah.
It's National Fish and Chip Day on the 6th of June as well.
Chairman, just on this one, we have previously reported it has been registered for the pageantry aspect with the pageantry office. So that is a beacon as part of the national network. There is an event for us to build around that, and Councillor Sinton has asked whether we will consider a working group similar to the market and the biodiversity work we're doing on natural networks. 3 or 4 councillors, including him, to be involved with it.
Yeah.
So that's what we're asking really this evening.
You see, we need people to put their hands up and say they are willing to be part of the working group, working party for getting this off the ground. Yes, Councillor Duffy.
I'd be quite happy to propose that we do that, and I'm happy to volunteer as well.
Anybody else willing to volunteer? We all look so happy tonight.
We have got a few things already arranged, such as interest from the air training cadets, to support the Jubilee one, which is a similar event, and other groups that would approach. But we just need a delegation to contribute some ideas and support with the programme. And then
Could I make a suggestion? She's not here tonight, but we should consider informing Councillor Val Humphreys about this, bearing in mind her connection with the Royal British Legion.
Definitely.
So that's 3.
Well, I'll join you.
Okay.
If everybody else wants
That's
to.
4 people.
Have all your football teams lost or something?
Well, I've got 2 working.
Every Monday, it's been the
Oh,
happiest
is
day
it
of the year.
Oh, I see.
It's the second Monday after the year.
Oh, well, you should have all gone on.
It's
holiday
known to be
that
the
night.
unhappiest day of the year.
Oh, perhaps having meetings tonight.
It's true, isn't it?
I don't know, is it?
Yeah, they did say this morning on TV.
We've got 4 councillors there. And proposed to meet in February and March.
We've got another volunteer down this end.
Another volunteer down there. Thank you.
With Alex having put it forward.
Yeah,
I assume
thank you.
he's volunteering as well.
Yeah. So I've got 5. So
Well, that's
I've got
great.
proposed just a seconder and all in favour.
Yeah. Proposer, please.
I think I was happy proposing, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
anyone will
Seconder.
second?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favour? Thank you very much.
And with the other groups, I'll let members know, but we'll probably suggest mid-February, mid-March, and then we can publicise till April, ready for May and June.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, item 14, band concerts programme. And that's our lovely Katie here. She's been doing a lot of work on that, haven't you?
Uh-huh. Just got about 3 more dates to fill, and then the 20-week programme will be completed.
Brilliant. Thank you, Katie. And 15, item 15, Westwood Allotment Site, Allotment Association Communal Shed.
I can update on that, Chairman.
Yeah.
So it's really just for information. We've got this prevailing issue with that communal shed. It isn't owned by the town council. This has been going on since June, July. It's needed repair or other use, such as making it into additional allotments, which are dealt with the waiting list and creating more capacity. So I've asked the association respectfully for a final update as to their intention with it by the end of January. So just to say that's the position.
Yeah. Okay. And last but not least, item 16, community public access defibrillators.
So just lastly on this one, Chairman, Mr. Peter Richards, who attended CNA, I think it was September's meeting, we have agreed in principle to support 5 to adopt and pay for the ongoing provision of 5 public access defibrillators, which was the police ones for the police cars. We asked him at the time to consider additional locations of here and the community halls, public buildings, and he didn't really take that on from us. He gratefully sort of declined that. But since then, he has asked us now if we would reconsider. So I think it's some sponsors have potentially given back word or haven't come forward as expected. So really, it's just to say that the provision of 2 more funded by the town council would be a good idea, particularly for these buildings. We have had medical incidents here and at the community hall that have affected the public, so I think it would be a good thing to do. So I'll go back to Peter and just take his guidance as to what spec, what model, what sort of access cabinet we have, and then we'll just purchase them, really. If members are happy with that.
Any comments on that?
Maybe because of training as well. Just in case we.
You don't need training, you don't need training.
Sorry.
No, it's all self-explanatory, foolproof.
Yes, councillor Duffy.
Yeah, they are very good. They tend to have vocal units in that sort of step you through, and they won't activate on a heart that doesn't have the specific rhythm that it treats. But I was going to ask if we feel there's any value in asking him about defib kits that have bleed kits as well. I know one was installed from a lot of good community work on the side, or just out the front of the pop hole. And it's one of the first few in the country, I think, that have a bleed kit inside, as that can often lead to the loss of a person as quick as a heart attack. I'm not sure if we need one here, but possibly because we've got the kitchen over at the community hall.
Yeah. I think the idea was to have them as 24-hour access in the foyers, both buildings.
The bleed kit one does the same, and it's the same process where you sort of ring 999 and say, I'm near this one, and they'll give you the code.
Yeah.
I don't know if the chap who runs the defib charity has used them before, so it might be worth, if we're interested, it might be worth contacting the hot hole, see if that can be sort of worked in.
Yeah, that's fine. So I'll update on that and then bring this back in next month.
Any more comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, Robin's got in touch with me.
Yeah.
And a few other dignitaries. And they're late to runs on. We're going on the 8th, yeah. And the issues has to be a meeting before. So I don't know. What do they do? If they'll do food or? I was going to see the meeting. Oh.
Welcome to the Resources Committee meeting, and thank you very much for staying the course. Apologies for absence, please.
Yes, Councillor Sinton and Councillor Balmond.
Do we have any declarations of interest, please? I'll take that as a no. So can we now confirm as a correct record the minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of December? The proposer, thank you. Seconder. Yeah, that's lovely. And all those in favour, please. Thank you. Okay, that's carried. Item 4 then. Budget and estimates for 24-25. To consider any recommendations made by the Community Meetings Committee a few minutes ago. And there's a full report again was circulated.
So on the CNA recommendation, Chairman, it was just to endorse that. So we'll just take a proposer, second, and all in favour, please.
Fine. Thank you. A proposer, please. Seconder, please. Thank you, Charles.
And all in favour.
And all in favour, please.
So that was just the CNA aspect.
Yes.
For the full council next week.
Thank you. And then we come to item 5, the council estimates and preset for 24-25. We consider the full report, which has been circulated, and the recommendations of the Community and Amenities Committee that we've just seen, and to make recommendations on the council's budget estimates and preset for 24-25. So I assume anyone who had any queries on this has already contacted the town clerk in advance.
But just a random one, basically, I haven't contacted Mark with this, but just, obviously, you're aware that Lloyds are closing stuff that you might
Yeah.
use in banking, whether, because we're a local council, whether it's worth looking at a bank that's actually gonna have a branch in Droitwich to do the banking. I know it's probably difficult to do, but just as a comment, just if you use it quite a lot in person.
It's a good point. I did reference it in the report.
Yes.
That we've looked at, not necessarily banks that will remain in town, because I think they're few and far between at the moment, but the measures to minimise the use of a branch. We are fairly confident we can manage that. Cash reduction is a big one.
You can use the post office.
We can use post office for all banks, so we would naturally default to that really, but I don't see that there'll be a big business impact from that.
I wasn't sure how much you used it.
The proposal is to close in November, and I think it's on planning for February's meeting. Some changes to the building.
Use the bank for the post office.
A very sensible comment, and I know we are looking at more electronic,
More
sort of banking and so on.
Excuse me, do they do mobile banks? I've heard,
Barclays have one that visits Bromsgrove periodically, but I think it's mainly trying to sell you something.
Lloyds are talking about community.
yeah, I
events
thought
or
I'd heard
so,
something.
yeah.
There's like an open bank idea where I think there's like a bank on site, and then like one day it'll be NatWest, the next day, like Monday it'll be Barclays, Tuesday it's Lloyds.
Well, I think we have to do as we're doing, which is obviously watch developments, but also move to online as much as is sensible and possible. That's what I think.
Thank you. Just to propose these again.
Sorry,
It's all right,
Councillor Franks,
I wasn't
I missed
clear
you.
after those. It's just a general question, really, or just something to throw out there, is that obviously looking down at the report, and it was a really good report, by the way, I learned quite a lot from going through it. Obviously, we get sort of 400,000 through precepts, and then we get 36,000 support grants. Now, there's no alarmism in this, but obviously, we've seen councils falling one by one across the country, which is one of the best ones in the country, so I don't expect any serious issues. But even Whithaven is looking at a issue with its budget in the next couple of years. And do we know what that, if we were to lose that £36,000, and I'm just starting to look at how we would potentially plan ahead if the very unlikely event happens, what that would look like in terms of either having to raise additional resources or finances, or cutting back on services. And have we done any sort of planning here to sort of look at what that might look like?
In the report, Chairman, and Councillor Franks, in answer to the question, there is a section on strategic priorities. So a lot of those mandates to proceed from previous administration or earlier in this administration. In answer to the question, the precept support grant is never guaranteed, and that is sort of explained within the detail on the report. If that 36,000 was not paid, I'm confident from our position on reserves and other supplementary income that we get, and Community Hall's a good example of that's far exceeding expectations, but we're putting a manageable and a reasonable budget in, but to stretch that into next year with some of the measures that we've done. And the other one is tenancies. If I think strategic priority 2 on the list is the upstairs location here, that would very quickly enable us to increase the supplementary income stream on that. And then there's a small consideration towards bank interest. The reserve position, we will talk about at full council next week, it's a separate item, but I put a fairly reduced forecast figure of 5,000 to invest £100,000 over 6 months rolling. So that would derive an extra 5,000 from us. So I am confident, looking at our position today in the out-term forecast for the end of March, that we could replace that 36 if we needed to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. It's highlighted really the very sound financial management we're fortunate to enjoy here.
I thought it would be remiss of us if I didn't still ask.
I thank you for doing that, and that's why obviously all these other projects, as just been briefly alluded to, again they're all there designed to benefit people of Droitwich, but also to secure the future, the financial future of Down County. So thank you for that. Okay then.
So Chairman, the recommendation then for this agenda item 5 is on the back page of the report. It's split into 6 things. That the attached estimates be recommended to council for 24-25, subject to any amendments as now agreed. That the budget, because it all begins with the budget setting. The budget requirement submission to Wychavon District Council includes the outline preset and the tax base calculation that is a band D, so there's a matrix in the report, level of £46.29 for 24-25, representing a percentage decrease of 0.58%. That's a reduction of 27p for the year for band D. So that preset figure is for the 4th year running the same, that preset demand. No change was made to fees and charges, so that's the community and amenities aspect that we just talked about. The grants budget be set at 5,000 in line with prior year, which we just talked about through CNA. Number 5 is that there'll be no maximum threshold for grant allocation. The recommended values is 500 to 1k in fairness to all the other groups, but we have got the option to top that up if there was increased demand. And then the final part is a preset, which is that the Resources Committee makes a recommendation to the full council to request a requirement of £436,259 for the year, which is 400,114 precept and a precept support grant element of 36,119, which has been confirmed by Wychavon back in December. So if members are happy, that'll be taken to full council next week.
Thank you for running through it. And again, it's very pleasing to see the situation. Again, due to sound financial management, this council is not about to declare itself bankrupt by any stretch of the imagination. Quite the opposite. So, do I have a proposer for that? That's really it. Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Second.
So happy to.
Councillor Francis.
Second.
Just in on the nose there. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And
All in favour?
All in favour, yes. That's carried. Thank you very much. And now item 6, the Salwalk Road vans, and as explained there for information that unfortunately that was very severely damaged, and I did have to be a Clark's engineer. I did have a look at it, but I think it had gone beyond being salvageable, although we will retain it for sort of spare parts and so forth.
Mark,
But,
Rob, tell you there, I bought
Got
the front in.
Rosen.
Yeah.
You found it?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Just to explain that interchange, when it was damaged, the front fascia panel was missing when it was recovered, and the litter picking squad, thank you very much. I asked them if they'd keep out for it, and they found it. So again, that's all useful components that we can hopefully save us money on something in the future. So,
sorry to interrupt. Just on this one, we've got 2 options really. I've spoken to Councillor Morris about this as well. We have the OPCC funding opportunity, which is item 8, shortly on this agenda. That's open until very early February. That location was funded by the OPCC grant, and the Police Commissioner actually had his photo taken with it when it was first installed. So to be cheeky really, we're going to ask if they will consider funding a replacement. The other option we have is to just do the full insurance recovery on it, but we may as well ask the OPCC or to match fund it, because as it says in the narrative there, it is basically a write-off, and the value is just short of £2,400 net of that. But that particular location is very effective, so we are keen to get that one put back in, and possibly some sort of measure to have a camera on it, a discrete camera, whilst we've got this antisocial thing going on.
and I think also the county have agreed to increase the height of the pole, because county, the way these things work, county put the pole in and then we put the VAS on it, and they've agreed to increase the height of the pole. So again, it would make it rather more difficult to vandalise. Yes,
With
Councillor.
that pole, is there any way to get like anti-climb maybe?
Yeah,
if they're
grease.
climbing up?
Yeah.
Just to make it even harder.
Yeah.
Something worse than grease.
Yeah.
Barbed wire.
That's an
Blue?
interesting comment,
Yeah.
you know, you can get it for fences and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
whether that's.
can we look into that, please?
I'll ask the question.
Something that damages trousers.
Like
Ladies on.
Right.
Tara,
Just to note, yes, sorry, yes, thank you. Okay, that was for information, so again, thank you for the update. And the next one's also for information. I'm not going to read it all out, but again, about this graffiti and vandalism we're suffering at the moment. And again, things are being done there, the paint, anti-graff paint and so forth. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, or if you want to make any comments on that one.
Just a couple of points, Chairman. The OPCC have ordered us some funding, small amount of funding, but it does cover the expense of some of this anti-graff coating. I'm grateful to Councillor Clements and also Sergeant Cathy Atkinson for arranging that for us. So we've had that money in last week. What we've asked to do with that is to do a programme where the road signs, but highways consent, particularly on Buzzley Way, that sort of area. So the highway signs really, front and back, are coated. It is quite labour intensive, and I've got Rob starting to work on that over the next few weeks. So what that will mean is that the graffitis can still be applied, but it means that it's not lasting. It can be wiped off with these special wipes. So that is a good measure for us to do, and I think it's necessary and it's supported by highways. It is, at the moment, that will be cost neutral. The other aspect is we've got 3 bus shelters on Selkstone Way and 1 at Copcut that are targeted consistently for not only graffiti but vandalism, breaking of panels. That we had another incident on Thursday. So I've asked for those to be all fully refurbished within the budgets of the new period, like the one we did on Buzzley Way near Little Hill, and anti-graff coated, but that will have to be done by contractors because of the scale of the work, and it's got to be coordinated. It's got to be cleaned, painted and coated within sort of 2 days to safeguard it. If we can do that, that will reduce the amount of, management to get this graffiti removed each time. They are the vulnerable locations, and it's worked in the past, and that's the approach we need to take. It's cost prohibitive for us to do it everywhere because we've over 30 bus shelters, but they're not targeted to the extent that some of these are.
No, that seems, again, a very sensible course of action. Any comments, Councillor Franks?
Just obviously starting to kick off a little bit on social media now about the amount of graffiti in there. I think Councillor Brizio, I was trying to manage it.
Yes, it's kicking off big style on the about graffiti.
Trying to manage it, making it clear that all councillors are absolutely wanting to get, stop this. I was just going to ask if there's going to be an update on this from the Sergeant at the next town council.
Yeah.
Because we really, I think we need some questions about, do they have any idea who this is? Is there a strategy in place to finally finish it? Because I think everyone's a bit sick of it, et cetera, et cetera.
I have included Cathy on the agenda for next week, and she has confirmed that she should be able to attend to support giving the report. So that would be a relevant question for her on the
Just wondered
evening
if
next
we could sort
Monday.
of do we need to put something in the press or something, just to try and just make it clear that the town council is very much wanting this finished. If anyone knows any information to come forward, and this is costing us now, it's expensive stuff.
I think the best approach will be to raise a question in public meeting next week, and then consider a press release, depending on Cathy's response.
Yeah. There's even a lot of volunteers to clean up the town, the graffiti as well.
But as Councillor Brazier did point out on there that we don't want them necessarily cleaning everything because they could cause damage to certain things. So
there's a damage in the safety aspect of people working on the highway, which is why we've had to take that approach with the highway signs, because Rob is what they call Lantra accredited and trained for lone working on the highway.
Yeah.
Before I just move on to Councillor Hopkins and then Councillor Brooks, I just wanted to sort of just emphasise that on social media, I would make a point of saying to somebody who puts something up, please ring 999 if you see this happening. There's no point in putting it on social media tomorrow. Contact this, because it is a criminal offence.
not 9999.
Well,
That's life threatening 999.
Yes,
Well, get chapter and verse on that next week.
Well,
But certainly report it. Oh,
you
you
just respond saying,
Sorry.
Councillor Atkinson is fully on board with
Yeah.
the
Oh, sorry,
graffiti and the
yeah,
issues. And she's also working with the community as well, because she's seen MJ Clean
Yeah.
and supporting them, working with them as the town clerk as well.
Thank you for that correction. I apologise for that. Councillor Hopkins.
Yeah, if I heard it correctly at the residents' meeting in the Westlands, the new police officer who's there, who seems a pretty tough guy, I think he said, I'm pretty sure that he said that they know one of the villains, they know where he lives, but they've got to catch him doing it.
That's right,
Yeah, we
evidence.
told that last time,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's still the case, but if he gets caught, that will be one nail in the coffin of the villains.
Yeah,
But again,
definitely.
it's one of those, okay, 101, but certainly contact the police, because again, if they happen to have a quiet time, they may well be able to send somebody to catch them within the act, which would be good. That's a good.
Just maybe it's more like for the police, but maybe like an idea to have a bit more of a community neighbourhood watch group or a community support officer that isn't part of the police on their payroll, but does it voluntarily, just to have a physical presence that might walk around these areas and put people off, maybe just, because most people probably do it when there's no one around. Whereas if there's just a sort of community neighbourhood watch plan or something like that, that they can then notify someone when they see something a bit easier, whether that's something that
I think
we
there
try
is
and push and
consideration of that, which might be worth discussing with the police again, because they have a division that will put up covert cameras temporarily, like we do to try and catch fly tippers. So again, it might be, if we've got a particular area, it might be worth asking them if they can perhaps do something. Councillor Franks.
Sorry, just the tennis courts with the storage box for the tennis in the Lido.
Oh, yeah.
It was actually hit twice very close together, and I think his name's Dave, the lad who works in the park, talked to Neil Bates, the guy who runs the tennis, and both times painted it. So I just want to make the point that that was fantastic, the work he did, and reacted really fast. But actually, if we could also consider maybe the paint for the anti-graffiti paint for that box would be useful if that's been now regularly targeted.
Well, it's a good idea, but I think that would come under Wychavon, wouldn't
It is which, and
So-
we reported to them that there's.
I am planning on bringing this up at Wychavon
Yeah, I was gonna say-
next month.
Because as you know, they run the park and all of that.
Parks officer is Jane
Would we ask as the town council if that could be done, or do I need to send an email? I can send an email to them myself.
Well, the one is James O'Connor, did you say?
Yeah, the parks manager is Jane O'Connor.
Yeah.
Oh, James.
She is aware of the measures that because Patrick Connell is involved with a lot of the interventions that we've done on graffiti, of the anti-graff product and how we get it. And they're actually supporting us with some of the white kits that Rob uses, which even purchasing those, we're purchasing the actual coating. So it can be coordinated.
Yeah, I think that would be
She
really
should be
good.
aware of it, yeah.
Are you going to send an email or?
I can contact her.
Thank you. Okay, we're done on that one. I'll move on to item 8, then the Safer Road grants again. And as we've already heard at the earlier meeting, we do have a site licence, another site licence in Tagwell Road. And so we want to consider giving the mandate to proceed for another grant, which as Town Clerk said, it's worth asking for, because if you don't ask, you don't get. So
it's two, Chairman, one for
two.
Tagwell and one for replacement for
For the other one,
Solway, or
that's
any
it.
match funding in between.
So I'd just like a proposer that we do that, please. If I thought, Councillor Brooks, yes, and a seconder, please. Councillor Franks, all those in favour?
Thank you.
Okay, that's carried. Item 9 is just this HMRC anomaly. This is obviously just for information, but I would comment that it's very disappointing when we have good financial management here that other people, whoever, have messed us down and been very difficult to get it properly sorted out. And I don't want to just update on that.
I think you summarised it really, and we report on this a lot because it's important through last year. But I have seen a screen print from HMRC that shows that it's all allocated correctly outside finally out in December, and not been critical of anybody, but there was an issue as to the allocation of the money at HMRC themselves, which Avon, as our agents, have paid it all correctly on time. So this whole saga originated from being in the wrong pot with HMRC, which is disappointing because we've actually had debt recovery approaches twice on this during the year, and all the steps to untangle that and then go back to the drawing board. So it's taken Sam at Whithaven a lot of my time this year to do that, but with HMRC it's important that it's right.
But it is disappointing, and I have seen some things in the press that HMRC are not perhaps giving the service that perhaps we'd like them to do. But anyway, I'm very pleased to see it being done, and just sorry it's taken up officer time, which could be better spent on something else we can. But we have to do it. So that's for information. And then item 10, again, just information there about the office tenancies. But I think this is one is cost neutral.
Yes, it's a follow on from December's meeting, Chairman. This one, one tenant has given up some space and we've managed to let it to the other tenant, which is a good situation for everybody, including the gifting of some furniture between them. So from our point of view, it was perfect.
It's nice to see, and hopefully we'll see the same kind of thing when we've got the top floor open. With tenants there too. So that's just for information. And then item 11 then, accounts for payment as per the list. And I'd just like a proposer for that, please.
I've got a quick comment.
Oh, sorry.
A bit random on it, but like a check randomly went out at 6 months' time scale.
Yeah.
It just seems a bit sloppy, like, not our point of view, but from them, it seems a bit strange.
Yeah, that large check, that was
Was it like 20 quid either?
with the contractor, for some reason they didn't bank it. So, when they did bank it, it's gone over 6 months, so the bank correctly highlighted it, so all we can do is stop it and issue a replacement.
Yeah, it just seems a bit strange.
We do chase them to bank them as well.
Oh, thank you for raising that.
That's just a comment on it, anything.
And it's nice to see the bank picked it up, and they're obviously working as they should for us. So, Councillor, thanks for your proposal.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yes, Councillor second.
Yeah, I'm all in favour.
All in favour, please. Thank you, that's done then. So I think we are complete. So I'll close the meeting. Thank you, everybody.